My name is James Hughes, and I would like to welcome you to the Expanding SuperDoor Configurator with your custom doors presentation. I'm reading this bit here, but we need to let you know about ATG and myself. ATG is a platinum level Autodesk software provider, and a platinum partner is someone who has the best customer service, best technical support, and best customer retention across authorized resellers. And I want to tell you guys just a little bit about myself. Again, my name is James Hughes. Of course, you can see it right there on my big stupid face there. But I have been a licensed architect here in the state of Arkansas, is where I'm coming to you from. And I've got about 13 years of experience in the field of architecture. And then the last 5.5 years I've spent with ATG providing service to architects, predominantly interior designers, landscape architects, some to construction, some to engineers. But my full-time job is basically making sure that you are aware of technologies that can help you, or different tools and processes that can help you. So there's a wide range of things that I would love to be able to talk to you about. You're going to see videos about those on our YouTube channel to be able to learn more about laser scanning, which you ought to be doing, to learn more about Hive, which is content management solution that you ought to be looking at. Some kind of things that I can unreservedly recommend to you without even really knowing what you guys are into. So like I said, for the past 13 years, I have been working in architecture, and I wanted to talk to you guys about SuperDoor Configurator today because it's an area that can save you a lot of time, but maybe even more importantly, it can save you a lot of headache. You know, if you've ever downloaded a door system and wrestled with it for a while just to try to make it not look so much like a placeholder, it can take a while if you haven't done the work that it takes to be able to curate your library of doors, which, you know, who has the time? Even with COVID-19, people don't tend to spend their billable hour time curating and creating the library like they should. I'm not pointing at anybody individually. I'm just saying we're polling, and we know this, that people aren't really doing that work. So because we're not building up our library systems like we should, having the door that you need at your fingertips is pretty rare, unless you are dealing with low level of development doors. If you are not actually showing the door as it is, because I mean, who cares? It's just going to be seen in plan view, and we don't really have an interior elevation looking at that. And if we did, maybe we'll just fudge some lines on top of it. There's a lot of bad practices that sort of go along with cleaning up after this lack of modeling doors as they should be. And so what SuperDoor Configurator does, just, you know, at a high level here, I know I'm supposed to still be talking about myself. I'm on the first screen here, but let me jump to the next slide. This is our agenda for today. We're going to work on creating Revit door families. That's normally a tedious task, and normally the best way to do that, if you don't have SuperDoor Configurator, is to not grab manufacturer's content and edit that, because that tends to be over constrained. And if you've ever tried to repurpose manufacturer's content, it can be like trying to untie the Gordian knot. I mean, there's a lot of parameters pointing to each other, and unless you authored that, it can be difficult to know what you can erase and what breaks if you do get rid of parameters or get rid of geometry that has dimensions, that has parameters tied to it, that disappear and break the family. So normally people start from, I apologize, I wish I had a glass of water here. Normally people start with out-of-the-box Revit doors, and then they customize those because they start off with a good basis of behaving and you can add complexity to them, or you can delete some elements normally without breaking that content. But SuperDoor Configurator allows you to create custom doors that are specific to your project while you maintain your company's standards associated with those. So what we've got is a bunch of door assemblies, which is the whole family itself. But inside of that door assembly family, it has nested families, or it has families that are loaded into it. And if you've ever authored doors, you're kind of aware that it is best practice to author the door panel itself separately and then bring that into your door family, and to author the frame separately and bring that into your door family as well. And so later in the presentation, we're going to show you how you can actually create your own custom panel doors and then tie that into SuperDoor Configurator, which is able to combine of all the different door assemblies, the compatible panel types and the compatible frames, and then you're able to add in the parameters and values that you want it to have as far as data and driving the geometry is concerned. And then you can have some control over how it's named, and then it will spit out a door configuration for you to be able to add to your project that's customized for use in your project. After this presentation is over, remember to visit youtube.com. Again, do a search for ATG USA, and you will find this presentation in a few days, and also dig back 3 months and take a look at that other SuperDoor presentation as well. So we're going to specify a main door assembly for our project, just so I can introduce you to what it's like to be able to create a door inside of the SuperDoor Configurator system. There is also a similar product called Casework Configurator inside of Revit. So if you're burning up a lot of time creating custom millwork or casework inside of Revit, just be aware that a similar type of system is available to help you with that as well and is worth looking at. Our second agenda, we're going to select a door frame and a door panel that's applicable to our condition. And then lastly, we're going to create a new custom door panel and add that to the SuperDoor Configurator library for our future use. Well, our immediate and our future use. So the rest of this presentation is going to be done live in Revit until the very end when we wrap things up. And so from this point on, I'm going to swap over to Revit. Rather, I'm going to start up Revit and then swap over to it. And then towards the end, once we get to the conclusion and we have a question time, we'll swap back over to PowerPoint then. One thing to note with any CTC tool, whether it is the BIM Project Suite, the BIM Manager Suite, or today we're showing the SuperDoor Configurator, when you install them, it installs on all versions of Revit that are currently supported, which is always the current year, which is 2021, plus the 3 previous years, so going back to 2018. You do one installation of the tool, and it will install on all of the versions that you have going. I'm going to open up a project that is actually my house. Give me just a second. I'm going to pull this over to the monitor. And if you guys could in chat real quick, let me know if you actually see a residential project up on Revit. I'm toggling 4 monitors right now, and I would feel really stupid if I got far along in this and you guys aren't even looking at my screen. All right, we got a yes. Great. Okay, so when you install any CTC software, whether it's BIM Project Suite or SuperDoor, it goes underneath a ribbon inside of Revit. You can see it up here for CTC software. And you can see that I've got BIM Manager Suite, which is this blue set of tools. I've got CTC BIM Project Suite tools, which these are really powerful. And by the way, we are currently, even right now, hosting a drop-in, drop-out test drive of that. You may have received an email. But if you need that inside of your chat, just let me know, and I will try to post a link to that here at the end of things. But it would let you drop in and actually have somebody demonstrate what quick select, what renumbering, what any of these green tools are able to do for you. We'd love a chance to be able to show that to you. That demonstration is going until 4 p.m. Central today. So after we end things, we're not going to take the whole hour here. You'll have an hour and some change left over to be able to drop into that. And also you want to ask about Hive. But with SuperDoor, it installs and you basically use 2 different software pieces to manage it and to use it. And so to manage how SuperDoor is set up, you would launch SuperDoor Admin. And to be able to operate SuperDoor Configurator, which is really straightforward, you just simply launch SuperDoor Configurator. Let me open up the admin first, just so I can talk to you just a minute about setting it up in case you guys download this to try it out for some time. Now, the very first time that you open up SuperDoor Configurator, it is not going to see all of the content that it's populating here down below. And in fact, it will give you a pop-up screen that says that you need to download the library of files. When SuperDoor Configurator was first introduced, I think around 2008, it was actually just a few folders, about 4 different folders full of the different RFA family types that could be combined. And that's what you would pay for and download. And one problem that developed from that is people were combining incompatible door panel types and door frame types with systems that would break them. You know, obviously you can't put in a regular panel door with a narrow vision glass in it and an overhead coiling door. It's going to break geometry if you try to do that. And so people were trying to combine things and figure it out. And it was decided that it would be best to create a user interface that basically allows you to fill out a form and essentially answer 5 slides of questions, and it would select the appropriate content and create the door for you. And all the time only showing you the compatible types of choices that you could make with that. So to kind of keep you from breaking things yourself. Now, this will normally be blank, and the very first time that you do this, you'd click on Download SuperDoor Families. That will take you to a CTC link, and right now you would download the Revit 2021 content. Then whenever you have this created, it will install to this folder directory here. Now, this is on my C drive, and if you're either a sole proprietor or you guys are working from home but you're not using VPN, these would be reasons why you would just install it on your C drive. Everybody that has access to SuperDoor, they might as well keep it locally. But if you are intending to add doors to the library and your people have VPN access, or you are working back in the office now, those would be reasons that you might put that on a network drive instead. And you can also manage permissions to that to make sure that, you know, people can't jump in there and modify or erase doors. It would be a kind of read-only access would be sufficient. So inside of the admin, we can point to the families or the door assemblies, which are sort of that parent family that has families inside of it. We can also make sure that the different frames that we have selected here are pre-configured. Now that popped up on another screen, but whenever you select one of these frames in this case, and you select on any of these parameter values over here, notice it gives you a graphical illustration. And if I choose some of these, like the geometry ones, it will actually dimension the piece to help make sense of what is it talking about with the frame width. Well, that was an easy one. But what is the frame inset? Okay, that's how far it is inset from the face of the wall. And so you've got presets to this that you could pre-configure. The ones that are yellow, those will show up inside of SuperDoor Configurator once I go over to that area and start looking at its parameter values. I've got the chance to change those later. These that are showing up as white, these are not going to be available to change later, so you need to go ahead and pre-configure these at this point. Or you could wait, and once it's inserted into your model, then just like any other instance parameter or type parameter, you'll have the ability to change those values later. Now, there's something I want to point out that we'll come back to at the end of the presentation, but I do have the ability to load an existing configuration, in this case for a frame. And later, what that's going to allow us to do is to inherit a bunch of parameters that are baked into the SuperDoor Configurator's frames that allow them to flex and work with SuperDoor Configurator, and it will allow us to create custom frames and inherit an existing configuration that's very close to the one that we're customizing. So just wanted to show the interface for the SuperDoor admin panel before we jump out of this. Yeah, I'll discard that. And let's see, other options, you could tell it to not keep reminding you that you haven't downloaded the content yet. That's not checked by default. So let me launch SuperDoor and give you guys an introduction to how it works, and I will then put in some doors that don't belong on the outside of my house that we create from it. So I launch SuperDoor. It's on another screen. And just so that we can see this really well, I'm going to maximize it. Normally I don't maximize it. But basically, we have 5 steps to be able to customize and create a door for our use. And in fact, right up here, you can see step 1 of 5. And these are organized as trays that I can click on, make a choice, almost like checking out at a website. And then after we've named everything, we can go to create the door. So our basic main door assemblies are shown here. And if you hover over one, it gives you a preview. You can also click on it and read some basic information other than the preview, and it will tell you the numbers of different combinations that are available to you for that particular assembly type. Now, obviously, a swing door is going to be your most common and most commonly configured customized door, so it's actually got 33 different frame options, which we'll glance at, and 25 different panel options. But if we look at something like a revolving door, yeah, so we've only got 2 frame options and 3 different door panel types to select from to work with that revolving door. Obviously, there are other frames and other panels that have been created, but what it's saying is if you try to use those within this family assembly type, it is going to not flex, it is not going to function correctly. So we do have the ability to modify some of these, like if this doesn't need to be glass with just a 8-inch kick plate at the bottom, we've got the ability to change this up and add to that so we don't just have 3 panel options, we can create a 4th. So let me select the swing type here. Let me mention this too. With all CTC tools, you've got a common set of tools at the top, and I encourage you guys to always click videos first. This is how, and when you click that, it's going to take you to CTC's YouTube page, and it's going to take you directly to those videos that have been tagged or bookmarked with SuperDoor Configurator content in them. And that way you can choose whether you watch a 1.5-minute overview of SuperDoor Configurator, or if you spend a longer period of time learning more of the ins and outs of what it can do. Everything I've learned about SuperDoor Configurator, except for customizing it, has come from these videos directly. There's not really extra training beyond this. You're going to be able to learn everything you need from that. If you have a project that you're working on and SuperDoor Configurator is not behaving itself, it's not creating the content like it should, then you should click on the support button, and that's going to create a support ticket with support@atgusa.com. And within 2 hours, someone is going to contact you and begin resolution of your CTC tool issue. If you hit this down arrow underneath SuperDoor's icon, we've got just a couple of other features that are hidden under this. If it's a bug, but it's not throwing you off of completing your project, you just notice something weird is happening whenever you try to do something. Like earlier, I tried changing the material of a side light glazing, and it did it on the top part, but not the bottom. Now, I played around with it for another 10 minutes and realized there's a separate material parameter controlling the bottom set for some reason. But if I had been impatient, I could have reported a bug and said, hey, it doesn't change the bottom set whenever I try to change the material. You can also request a feature. So if you look at SuperDoor Configurator and these available assemblies over here, and you say to yourself, oh wait, there's no barn door over there. There's no offset pivot door. Therefore, I can't use this product. No, SuperDoor is not going to handle every door that you will ever need in your life, but I'll tell you, it handles about 80% of any door commercial, and probably about close to 75%, maybe 70% of the doors you would use residential from within itself. And then you've got the ability to customize on top of that. But if you really need a barn door because of Joanna Gaines, then you can request that feature, and they will weigh that or add that up with the other requests for that and determine where it goes on future roadmap. All right, so we've selected the swing door. That's step 1 of 5. That would have taken 2 seconds if I didn't do all that other talking. You can either click this next arrow here, or you can click the next tray down, either way. So we'll go to the next, and now we need to choose the appropriate frame. So we selected the assembly type. Now, and I need a minute just to talk you through what each of these, because these are named in a very particular way. At the top, we see these as AL. The very first two letters of the name are going to indicate the material that the frame is made out of. And so we have aluminum at the top. We've got hollow metal beneath that. ATG works with a number of people that deal with penal design and people that need secure hollow metal frames. And so we've got those added into the library, as well as SHM as secure hollow metal. And then we've got WD for our wood frames here at the bottom. After the two letters, there's a dash, and there are typically two numbers. And those two numbers, well, the first number indicates how many transom windows the frame has. If it's a 0, that means there are no transom windows. If it has, where's one? Yeah, AL1-0, you can see from the preview below, it's got one transom window, and the second number is how many side lights it has. And so 0 means it has no side lights. So you can have one transom plus one side light, or you can have one transom with two side lights. Now I skipped over one. We've got AL11A. If it has an A designator, that simply means that you've got an intermediate mullion in that side light. You can see it kind of midway through there. So that's pretty much it for the naming scheme. Material, number of transom windows, number of side lights, and then whether or not it has an intermediate molding or not. So for our, I'm going to choose wood frame. And just so I've got something to look at, we'll choose, yeah, we'll do it with both side lights. Typical front entry, only I'm going to put it on the side of my house. All right, so we've chosen the frame. If you were to create this from scratch inside of Revit, you're already in for a lot of work just doing that frame. That's going to be a good bit of work, especially to make it parametric, where you've got some control over how tall, how wide each of those pieces are, and to have it flex appropriately. Some people that create these just do them monolithic, where they're not parametric. They know that it needs to be a 2-foot high transom, and so they never even bother with creating the parameters to be able to change that. But this is going to give you a fully parametric object to change, stretch it, change the materials, all of that. We'll go to next. Now we choose the panel type for the door. And for our residential application, you know, there's some of these that are paneled doors. So if I had 6-panel door here, and this is some of the work that maybe you guys should look at adding. So whenever we get into, sorry, I'm reading some chat here too. Whenever you get into creating your own custom doors for residential, you're going to find that, you know, there aren't a lot of panel choices here. We've got a 2-panel, 4, 6, and 8, but you've got the ability to, you know, put arches in these to be able to kind of, you know, make a 3-panel door. And so we'll kind of dig into that in just a little bit. But here we're going to select, it's kind of more of a commercial application, but man, narrow vision panel, that's pretty common door type there. So I'll select narrow vision. Normally don't see those in a house. Normally you're going to see glass, or you're going to see a lot of glass. In residential, yeah, I'll go full glass, impact resistant, keep the burglars out. So we'll go next. All right, so we've completed 3 out of the 5 steps. The 4th one is the ability for me to preset some parameters. If this is a small job, or it's, maybe I shouldn't say small job, but if this door is only going to be used in 1, 2, 3, 4 places, then I might actually just not really mess with presetting many parameters here. I might just get them placed and then select them and set the parameters at once. But if I'm going to be placing this door in a lot of different locations, I probably want to take the time to preset some of these. And notice that you still get that same kind of dimensionality, or that's probably not the correct word, but you get a preview of what on earth that parameter description is, so that while you're presetting that, you can anticipate what it's going to do to the door. So we'll bump that up to be a 9-foot tall door, and we're going to jumbo it and make it 4 feet wide so I can get a piano in and out of my house. All right. I normally don't do too much more with the dimensions here, but I can also affect the graphics. If I want to change some of my materials, there are preset ones that show up inside of SuperDoor Configurator. These are actually built into the families themselves. And if you want to add to this list of preset materials, I'll probably take a minute and show you how to do that too, but we need to open up one of these door assembly types like the swing door that we've got and add in some materials that I would like to see as well. But we've got, default for generic, and we've got, steel, aluminum, and oak, kind of your common materials that you might work with here. All right. Once you've made some changes here to your main door and to your frame, we'll take a look at our options here. Oh yeah, and we got the ability to also change out ADA clearances. Don't really need it for residential here, but these are kind of a pain in the neck to figure out if you're adding these in after the fact. But these have them baked in for different approaches to the doorway, and you can have those show up and print in plan with your doors if you make those selections. I'm gonna change this back to none. All right. That's pretty much it for step 4. The last step, and basically the pressure's off at this point, because once you get to the 5th step, we're really just talking about making sure this thing is named correctly. And as long as it takes care of creating all of this geometry for me and it behaves, man, the pressure's off. It could be named poorly, and I can fix that fairly easily here. So I won't spend too much time on this, but it's basically going to name this, and you can see a preview of that right up here. It's going to name it first with the type of material for the frame and the frame name, which this one is a type 12 for it. And then it goes to the door panel name. It's basically using the abbreviations for each of the components that are within this. If you've made some changes, you can refresh that as well. You can also save this out. Now, normally, if you're in a small firm or it's just you making doors for you, then you would just load this directly in. You want to make something and then boom, place it. But if you're the BIM coordinator or you are working with people who are also working from home and you need to craft an RFA file and ship that over to them for their use, then you're going to want to check this box and save that dude out as an RFA family for them and email that content or load it onto your network location there. So I'm just going to choose to load it into the project and to be able to place it, and we'll choose finish. I give it just a minute to configure that, and it's going to find each of those components and combine them together inside of one RFA file, and then it's going to ultimately place that on my cursor for me to be able to place it inside of the project. And you can even do that in 3D. Normally I place doors by floor plan. This is so trippy because I'm actually in this room. That window is like right there. I feel like I'm creating a doorway in here. Wow, probably can't get away with 9 feet plus a transom, right? Probably gonna have to modify that dude. That's for giants to come in to my house. But we can go in, and just like any other family inside of Revit now, this thing's not locked up. It's not like, manufacturer's content or anything where everything's grayed out. This is fully parametric, so if 9 feet is not working for me, I can bump that down to just being a 7-foot tall door. And if this thing is parametric, it's going to be able to shrink that, that door piece down for me. Insert conflicts with joined wall. All right, it looks like it worked to me. All right, and then we hit OK. And that's an example of creating SuperDoor. Now, if I wasn't talking through each of those steps, believe me when I tell you that would be a 20-second, 30-second thing to be able to think to yourself, what's this thing going to be like? Make the selection on those 5 different screens and then hit OK. And then once you've solidified around your naming convention, you don't even need the 5th step. You just click make door because it's going to remember what choices you made for naming conventions and stick with those. And then if you're not needing to configure options before you place it, then you're really just making 3 selections. You select the door type, you select the panel type and the frame type, and it's done. All right, so at a high level, that's what SuperDoor is able to do. I'm going to take a quick look at the chat before I get into customizing this thing. All right, so I've got a question. Are we creating door types from here by changing them under parameters on SD? SD, I'm guessing you're meaning SuperDoor, not schematic design. Okay. Yes, so you're creating the door types inside of SuperDoor, and you can load them directly into the project, or you can save them out as RFA files, or you can save them out inside of your template file. If there are 5 doors that you use all the time, then you might go ahead and make those in SuperDoor and actually save those into your template so that they're ready to go. That's one more use of it. I actually recommend that you try to keep your template file very lean and only load in the elements or the families that you are almost certainly going to use, and then use something like Hive to be able to find and access other content, double click it, and then place it from Hive into your project. That will let you keep your template real clean, or create super doors as you need them. So kind of instead of me going through SuperDoor Configurator and spending 2 weeks combining all of the different combinations of these things and saving them out to use, I wouldn't do that. I mean, the whole point of SuperDoor Configurator is make choice, and create the door so that it makes it on the fly, and I don't have to keep a terabyte of possible combinations on me at all times. So I think I'm answering your question correctly. Create it in SuperDoor and use it as you need to, but for your most commonly used ones, you might go ahead and save out that RFA file for future use. How do we add door trim? So there's 2 things that you probably have noticed aren't in SuperDoor after we walked through it. Possibly future development. You guys, feel free to, as users of the software, to jump on and request features. But there isn't door hardware on here. That's kind of a big gripe that I hear from people. And there's not custom frames on here as well. Now, I'm sorry, there is frames. There's not trim. I don't know if I should say it this way, but if you took polls of people, which I periodically do when I'm doing training, and I ask whether or not they bake their trim into their door frame or not, most people do not. There are some out-of-the-box Revit doors that do it that way, and there are definitely some things on Revit City that will do it that way. But most people are, if they're doing residential or if they have trim that they're wanting to add to the door, they're creating that either as a sweep, or they're creating it as a model group, or they're doing it and basically slapping it on the face of the door rather than baking it into the family. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I agree with you guys. If you think it would be great to be able to add a sweep along the edge of it inside of SuperDoor, that'd be a great feature to request. If enough people requested that, they'd look at what it would mean development-wise to make that. Are the ADA clearances nested families? Great question. I believe that they are. I believe that it's actually doing them more specifically as symbolic lines, and is adding that symbolic line work as a nested family or as a detail component. Let me jump over here under parameters. Graphics, not graphics, it was options, wasn't it? Where are you, ADA? May have to actually select something before before it knows what graphics to apply to it here. Let me go in order here. I'll do the swing selection again. Select a frame. Select a panel. It's not under dimensions. Yeah, and these are all materials and frame. Yeah, here it is. Underneath main door assembly. Let me just grab one of these. Instance type parameter with preset clearance options on the pull side of the swing doors. That's kind of contradictory. It says it's an instance, but it also says it's a type parameter. So let me place one in here, and then we'll kick the tires and see what it does. That's kind of the only way I'll be able to really answer that question without saying I'm not sure 100%. This one I'll put on the side of my garage. Yeah, so let me jump to Michael's next question. Can you load into project as well as save out separate question? And the answer is to that, yes. You can load it directly in, or you can save it out. That's the very last selection you make on step 5. And how do you show ridge shingle? Ridge shingle. I guess we're talking about this up here rather than doors is what I take ridge shingle to mean on that, unless there's a door parameter I'm unfamiliar with on that. So if you're talking about this ridge shingle, just as a separate question here, you could make that as a family that has an array, a parametric array that's built into it, where you basically model one shingle and you create an array and sort of bump it over maybe 12 inches. And then as the roof length increases, you basically have a little grab handle and stretch it out, and it would populate and make a new ridge shingle every time that it's popped 12 inches longer. Kind of like if you've ever seen fully parametric ladders, you can stretch one ladder from one end to the other, and every 1 foot it adds another rung. It'd be a similar concept to that. So I'm seeing a 3-dimensional box show up around this guy. Let me look at it in plan view, and we'll see what we got. Okay, yeah, it's definitely showing here. And that is a 3-dimensional graphic. You can see it in 3D. So I'm wrong. It's not symbolic lines. It's actually created a model of that clear space in 3D. And so that's going to show up in every view. So even if I looked at this in elevation, it's going to show the door outline plus that extra space on the right-hand side of it. It would show that dashed in elevation or whichever view that we have. So good question on that one. Hey, Omar's in. So Omar already actually answered that one. Yes, the clearances are nested generic components. Omar would know. I think he probably helped build some of that. All right. So we've given you just kind of a basic overview of what SuperDoor Configurator can do. You can start to imagine how much time this saves if you're able to combine the door type with the door frame you need with the door panel that you need. But as you keep using this, it's going to solve 80% of your doors for you, but then there's those other 20% you're going to say, I wish SuperDoor could do that. I mean, I can already go get it from somewhere else, or I can take this one and modify it. So let's take that second notion of I can already take this and modify it. If you've got the ability to edit or author families yourself, if that's kind of not far outside of your comfort zone, then what I'm about to show you next is a possibility for you to be able to grow and expand your own SuperDoor library. Now, part of the reason I'm doing this webinar is because less than 20% of our customers are actually doing this with SuperDoor Configurator. Most of our users are saying, man, I'll take the 80% of door situations that it solves instantly for me, and we'll leave it alone, and I won't mess with the database. But I want you guys to realize that as we add doors to this library, under no circumstances is it going to destroy or jeopardize the content that's already there. I'm going to show you guys how to be able to do this in a safe way. And if you mess that up, I'll show you how you can actually just download the door library again and just overwrite what you had there. If somehow you still make a mess of the content that's there, it's no big deal, really. All right, so let's see. We're using this screen right now. Let me kind of just back up for a second and talk to you guys. Now, whenever I did that previous webinar, I kind of oversimplified things a little bit because I told you that you can take doors and add them to the SuperDoor library, and that wording is a little bit tricky because that's not technically easy to do that. And so I'm actually going to recommend to you that you not download a door from, I don't know, BIM Object. You know, if you went and got a Stanley door or something from BIM Object and you wanted to add that to SuperDoor, it is not going to behave whatsoever. You know, Stanley's probably locked down their doors in specific ways, creating parameters that, you know, need other parameters output to be able to determine everything about what that door can flex and do. And also, if you've got a really simple door, if you just tried to add some out-of-the-box Revit doors to your SuperDoor library, that won't work either because SuperDoor Configurator has several custom parameters that have been created. I mean, a lot of custom parameters that have been created that allow it to control lots of different aspects about the door to make it fully parametric. And if you just take a piece of door content, some RFA that you got from somewhere that's a door panel, it will not have any of those custom parameters. And so what I'm very specifically going to show you how to do is to take a door panel type that is close to what you want from SuperDoor Configurator. You know, for instance, here we got this one that's mostly glass. If you wanted to modify that panel to be a little bit different, then we could actually show you how to do that. And by starting with SuperDoor Configurator's door panel, making an edit to it, and then following a couple of simple steps to make sure that it shows up inside of SuperDoor Configurator, then that is going to be added to the library and it is going to behave for you. So what we want to do, just to restate it again, is to start with a SuperDoor content piece that's close to what you're trying to accomplish, and either add geometry and parameters to that or subtract them carefully as you need to. I would try to add to it rather than subtract because there's a good chance you could erase some reference plane that's tied to a dimension that has a parameter tied to it and end up with some broken functionality with that door. It might 90% work, but as you test and flex it in other ways, it may not. Okay, so to begin with, what we need to do is find the library where this door panel type is. So if we go to SuperDoor Admin, remember that that location is listed right up here. And program data is kind of a tricky folder inside of Windows because it's a hidden folder. And so if your Windows 10, which by default is set not to show hidden folders, you've got to start by turning that functionality on. Give me just a second here. I'm trying to change things around. So I'm going to open up just C drive on my computer here. And so right now, I don't see program data here. I'm sorry, I do. Hello. If I didn't see it, I would click on View. And then I would check hidden items, and you might also check file extensions too. That one's turned off by default, whereas in Windows 95 and older ones, it was turned on, I believe. But make sure those two are checked on. Then you can visit program data. Then you can go to the CTC folder. Then you can go to SuperDoor. And again, this is inside your SuperDoor admin. If you don't need to memorize this, the address is right here. So we're going to go to the new content. We're going to go to the door panels subfolder. And these are all of the door panels that come with SuperDoor Configurator, the 2021 edition. I have no idea what that one was called with the glass there. Not glass half. Yeah, glass full. That'll be it. So we can take this RFA file and we can make a copy of it. You could either do this in Windows by Control-C, Control-V, right-click on it and do a copy and then a right-click and paste it. Or you could open this up inside of Revit and do a Save As. This is a little safer than doing a Save As because I'm not going to accidentally overwrite anything. And what I'm going to do is add in ATG's who I work for. So I'll add in a little prefix here to basically let it know that we created a new company custom version of this ATG glass full panel. If I double click this as an RFA file, oh, hang on, I'm in the middle of a tool here. It should open it up, but since I was in the middle of that tool, I'm going to go to File. You know what? It's going to be faster to double click it because I'd have to browse to it otherwise. There's ATG. All right. We could visit this thing in 3D, determine a change that we want to make, and because I'm yeah, I want to hurry up here and not spend too long on this, because really the important thing is not how do we edit this thing in the family editor, but how do we make this thing show up inside of SuperDoor Configurator. So let's pretend that I just spent an hour inside of the family editor making changes to reference planes and maybe adding a couple of parameters, maybe bringing in, this is common when bringing in some door hardware or some trim that you want to see baked into this thing. You could bring that sweep in. I wouldn't do it to the panel. I'd probably do this on the frame if I was doing trim, but you know, add that hardware by going to component, going and loading that component, and then placing it on here. I'm actually not, just so we can get this thing built into the library, I'm not really going to make any changes to it. We're just going to call it the ATG door. And whenever I'm finished, I would actually choose to save. I don't need to load it in the project. And we have then customized that door. It's not going to show up in it's not going to show up fully configured right away, but when I launch SuperDoor Admin, my expectation is it's going to be able to read that RFA file in the library. So let me go to Panels. Boom, it's right there at the top. It now shows. Now, if you've already got SuperDoor Configurator Admin open and you make those changes while it's open, it does not live refresh. I just want to throw that out there. You do need to close down SuperDoor Configurator and launch it again, and then it does another read of all the families that are in that folder or that subfolder. It's not checked that it is configured. So to finish this thing out and configure it, we can double click it, and it opens up here. Any changes that we made, it would have thumbnailed that as well there. And here is the kind of critical step that we need to do. I'm going to load an existing configuration. And I'm going to choose a panel family that's very close to this one, which we already talked about, the, was it full? Yeah, glass full. So glass full is the closest one to what we modified, or it is the one that we modified. And this is how I would leave this. I would check to include the image assignments for that, and I would leave that one unchecked there. So we hit OK, and it has inherited all of the parameters that it might need to have for SuperDoor, as well as pre-configurations. It inherited those from the full glass panel. I might make some changes to those. Okay, yeah, and it's loading those from a list here too. And we can hit OK. And one other thing we want to do is go to our door assemblies, and that particular panel is intended to be used with a single swing door here. Make sure I've got the right one. Yeah. So I'll double click that. Oh, my mistake. Not double click it. Close this out. Hit yes. I'm going to choose panels. Okay, I was already there. Yeah, and it's already configured that one. Here we go. Sorry, I just ran in a circle there. Instead of loading existing configuration, we've already done that. I do want to select the compatible panels with this one. So if I make that selection, the full list shows up, and I want to add ATG glass full. So it is now going to be selectable once I am going in SuperDoor Configurator. If I choose that, that single door assembly type, it's now going to allow me to choose that ATG panel. We'll hit OK. Close this out. Yeah, save it. And let's launch SuperDoor, and we'll see what we get. I no longer call my shots. I used to say, and you're going to see that it's immediately, but let's see what we get here. I'm going to choose the swing type. I don't know if Omar's still on here. No, yeah, Omar's still here. So if I do something wrong, he'll be able to tell me what I did wrong. It would help if I stopped moving the mouse around. Swing type. We'll go to our next. Choose our frame type. Remember, we didn't change the frame, so we still have all of the custom ones, or all the ones that it comes with, to choose from. Next, and now I should be able to, oh, I didn't change the seed name, did I? So we got two FGs. Yeah, I should have made that change there. You can't actually see the difference. There was a screen that was created whenever I loaded the similar types, and I should have made it FG-ATG so that I would know, which one. It's one of these two, and they're identical. But you can see that it's been added here. And then I could, change presets on the parameters. I can go to create the door. If I want to insert in a difference in the naming convention, instead of it saying FG, it might say FG-ATG if I had changed that seed name, which I missed that step. So we'll hit finish. And if this works, then it will have created a new combination of 3 elements, one of those being a custom element that I just created from a similar full glass door panel. Take your time, Revit. You're saving me time. I'm okay with it. I'll put this one back in the master bedroom in case I need to get out of there. We've got a separate exit. All right, so we've got our custom ATG door panel that was duplicated and added to the library. Now, if you're creating customized doors for people inside of your firm, and you're already using or leveraging SuperDoor Configurator, you want to start making this your new workflow, that instead of starting from something that they hand you, or instead of starting from a out-of-the-box Revit door, you want to start now with one of the SuperDoor door panels or frames that's very close to what you want. Add your geometry to that in that folder, and then make sure that that is in the folder that's on your network drive, or if it is for other users to use, you're going to need to email it to them, and they'll have to put it in that folder themselves. But thereafter, it's going to be something that can be configured to work with their SuperDoor configurator. Now, as an admin on each of their screens, you're going to have to walk them through, opening up the door and adding that compatible panel type like I did. Now, I fumbled with that just for a second, but if you click through it, it's not going to take you more than 5 minutes for each user to be able to grab that and check that box to add the ATG or whatever rebranded door it is. Yeah, so Omar's reminding me that I can go back to admin and change that seed name. Let me fumble my way through that. So I'll open up SuperDoor Admin, and let me go to the panels, and here's ATG Glass Full. Pull it. Yeah, here it is. So it's the seed name. So we're going to take that and maybe do like an underscore ATG. All right, hit OK. For our door assemblies, we go to the single, select compatible panels, and make sure that that one is checked. Yeah, so it stayed associated with it. It must be looking at element ID instead of a name, because it still found it and it was still checked. So it's already set up. I really just needed to change that seed name, like Omar said. Yeah, save it. And so now I could actually make a better demonstration and saying, oh no, they're both named the same. If I go back in SuperDoor, I'm going to talk less this time and show you how quickly I can put this together. So I'll choose a swing door, choose a frame type. Here's my FG-ATG. Notice when I change that seed, now I can tell what it is. I'm not going to change any of the parameters. I'll just create the door. And it puts that ATG right in the name as well. What a perfectly named door. You guys are not properly impressed with the amount of modeling I've done on my house. I haven't seen any comments on that. ATG has been paying me to model my house and use it as a data set sometimes during these demos, and to be able to show point clouds and things too, because they let me borrow a scanner. And I actually laser scanned my house on a Friday afternoon from 5 to 8. I did the outside, and then that next Saturday morning, I did the inside with about 55 scans. I had it done by lunch, and put all that together to be able to model my house to a 16th of an inch of where everything is, which is just crazy. All right, so it took me, what, a minute to make that fix and then recombine the door to how I need it. Again, if the side light's a little bit wrong, if I need to stretch or change that, again, at this point, I'm just changing frame materials. If I don't like the steel that's showing up, if I want to change the glazing and I want to make it out of chocolate or whatever material you want to do, this dude is fully customizable hereafter, but you've also got some abilities to customize things inside of SuperDoor so they just come in with the materials that you want. And so just kind of be aware that there's even, you know, more of that type of customization you can do. Let me double check the chat and we'll see if we need to bounce back into Revit again. Yeah, so can we also add hardware like door handles? You can, but it's going to require some work from you. So SuperDoor's not doing that automatically for you. Definitely request that feature. And you know, maybe at some point, man, there's so many different types of door hardware though, it'd be really hard to catalog that stuff. But you know, I don't know if enough people needed it in that standard list, it were needed to just be expanded, that's possible. But yeah, you absolutely can do it yourself. The way you would do that is you would basically add your door hardware to the door panel itself. Now, I had the family editor open for about 2 minutes and said, basically, we don't have time to do this, but you would import in the door hardware family and slap it right on the face of the door where the hardware needs to go. Save that door panel, that ATG customized door panel that you made, and then that door hardware is going to show up as part of that door panel family. So yeah, that's definitely customizable to bake it into SuperDoor, but you could also just add it after the fact. You know, if you wanted to let SuperDoor make the door mostly correct and get it placed, and then you could add door hardware basically situated on top of it. It would be independent of it, so it wouldn't move with it. You know, well, you could lock it to it, but yeah, you can do that. So yeah, I'd like to see it baked into SuperDoor, but we'll see. Great questions. I'm going to try to be respectful of y'all's time and move along here. So in conclusion, we have specified a main door assembly for our project. That was that one that we chose. Actually, we chose single door, but there's lots of other choices. Fire separation doors are in there. Revolving doors are in there. Bifolds, double doors. All of your common door types are in there. The ones that we hear the most about is please add barn doors. Please add offset pivots. That's kind of the only main suggestions that crop up from that. We do hear more suggestions for panels, but I've also shown you guys how you're able to sort of create your own and add that to the library for yourselves. But you know, if you guys request that feature for a specific type of door panel and enough people do, then that eventually gets added to it. We selected a door frame and a door panel, and then lastly, we created a customized door panel and added that into the SuperDoor configurator, and then I fixed the seed name and we added it back in just to kind of show you guys. I made like 4 doors during this whole demo, so I hope you guys are comfortable with how quickly that part of it goes. So let me just open that up. My email address is jhughes, as in, you know, first letter J and then how Hughes is spelled here, jhughes@atgusa.com. If you've got a question, let me know, and I will try to answer that about SuperDoor Configurator. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you guys. Bye-bye.